Hey everyone, how's it going? It's your boy Skilled Fawn. Today we are going to be doing a Bloodborne challenge run. Let's waste no time and jump straight into the rules. Starting off, we can only use guns. In Bloodborne, the player is meant to use the gun to parry the boss, leading to a visceral attack. Essentially, it's meant to be a side weapon. What if instead we used it as a primary, with no melee weapons allowed? Let's journey together through Yharnam and uncover this mystery together. Next, no summons. I cannot summon other players or NPCs to help in boss fights. Subsequently, I must beat the game and DLC. Afterwards, I must defeat all bosses. This is excluding the chalice dungeons because getting to the queen is a pain in the ass. For the first two bosses, I'm allowed to use visceral attacks. Why, you may ask? Well, I'll talk about it in those sections, but simply put, I just wouldn't be able to take them down with an unupgraded gun and unleveled character. Lastly, glitches and or exploits are allowed. Expect some cheeky ways to get around areas and take down bosses. I'm excited to share this run with everyone as I really enjoyed the Souls series. It's been a bit since the last Bloodborne run. Check out the previous Souls and Bloodborne videos. I'm collecting all the trophies in this game, to Sekiro AP1, Demon Bell, and Charmless. Covered many awesome challenges. Make sure to smash the like button, comment, and subscribe to help support me in the channel. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I post similar challenges. Now, let's get into the gun run. Decided to start with a Noble Scion class since it had the highest blood tinge attribute, which boosts the gun's damage. Fortunately, this meant I had to deal with a low vitality level. Waking up in the clinic, I quickly made my way out into Yharnam, specifically up to this ladder and resting at this lantern. Because we interacted with a lantern, we were transported to the Hunter's Dream. Here the player can level up, though at the moment we only have 0 insight, so we are unable to purchase and upgrade weapons and store items. It was the gun that we would be using for the first few areas, the Hunter Pistol, which has more damage than the Blunderbuss, then proceeded to warp back to Yharnam. Subsequently, I went through the first few areas collecting blood vials, quicksilver bullets. As this is going on, let me talk about a few things. First is that similar to the Hot Pursuit Nuzlocke run, I ended up thinking that this challenge was too daunting once I reached Father Gascoigne and saw that damage. Because of this, I decided to place this challenge on the back burner for some time. That ended up being days, then weeks, and finally months. Yet nearly 8 months later, I decided to come back and tackle this challenge. Whether it was the grinding in the early areas for the aforementioned consumables, or the long, early boss fight, I decided to take a break. A few weeks ago, I had the sudden urge to play Bloodborne and Lords of the Fallen again, since it has been some time, and figured why not complete the previous challenge on this game, then do an all modifiers run on Lords of the Fallen. Holy heck, that was a tough challenge. Not sure when I will post that one to be honest, but expect that in the future. I know a bunch of you guys like the daggers only run on the game, so, expect that. Because I came back, I knew I had to change something up, since otherwise I would be stuck in the early areas grinding for hours and hours. To lessen the time, alongside being more entertaining, decided to allow visceral attacks for use on Gascoigne and Bloodstarved Beast. Went through both of their fights with just a gun in my bare right hand. Even though I gave myself a slight cheat with the visceral attacks in these early boss fights, things were far from easy, especially with a low vitality rating. In the end, I took both them down, and this is when the fun really begins. With Bloodstarved Beast taken down, we now have access to one of the many chalices that will let the player enter various dungeon layers. While I will be going after every boss, one that I will not be going for is the Queen. Why, you may ask? Well, it's a really long grind, both time and resource wise. I do really enjoy that fight and plan to go through the chalice dungeons again soon, but not this time. Would have added at least another 5 to 10 plus minimum hours just to go through those dungeons. Then I use a specific chalice combination, allowing us to use one of Bloodborne's most infamous glitches. The Come FPK chalice dungeon has this strange bug that lets the player farm blood echoes extremely quickly and efficiently. When I was showcasing the previous bosses, it was evident how little damage I was dealing, how much I had to rely on the visceral attacks. This is why I want to use this exploit, buff the character's level so we can just use guns only. No damaging consumables like Molotovs, no primary weapons like the Moonlight Greatsword, and so on. Just pure guns only. Another reason is that Bloodborne's healing and ammo materials do not replenish, and are limited in supply. Because of this, I need to have plenty in reserve. While I do dislike using this specific exploit, it is necessary to help speed things up. Otherwise, the starting area would have to be grinded for resources for hours and hours. Ultimately, I got Blood Tinge, the attribute that scales with guns, to a solid level, then set off back into Yharnam. Cleric Beast is our first true guns-only boss, so let's see how things fare. Even though we may have a high Blood Tinge level, our weapons level is only +1 to 2 at this point. I opted to fight him from medium range, while slowly retreating getting to one end of the bridge. When I was near one end, I would flip around and start going back towards the other section. One awesome thing about Bloodborne's ammo system is that the player can trade their health for a few more bullets. This definitely puts the player in a pickle, as they have less health and need to heal again to reach full. Because of that, it takes a good 3 to 5 seconds to finish the cycle, which easily lets the boss get close for a potential hit. Fighting cleric beasts, I came to question a few things. This is one of the starting bosses, and my damage is quite low already. How is Lady Maria and Orphan of Kos going to fare? Will the endgame bosses and DLC bosses actually be doable? We'll stick around and let's find out together. I took down Cleric Beast while listening to his banger OST. I have to say, I find it to be one of the most underrated in the game. Afterwards, I returned to the Hunter's Dream, collected a new armament, a repeating pistol. There are mostly benefits when it comes to this weapon, but there are a few downsides. It will deal higher damage alongside having a better scaling for Blood Tinge. One of the biggest downsides was that the Quicksilver Bolt usage switched from 1 to 2, which doesn't seem like a lot at first, but I noticed quickly how that number drained during a boss encounter. Outside of Cathedral Ward, there's a certain enemy that when taken down by him, teleport the player to the Unseen Village. This area is meant for the middle to late game, but I wanted to venture here to collect shards for weapon leveling. Then I went into the Grand Cathedral to fight Vicar Amelia. Compared to Cleric Beast, she has far more deadly and terrifying attacks, not to mention she can heal herself in the second phase. All the more reason to play aggressively, yet cautiously at the same time. As per usual, I buffed myself beforehand, letting me get 5+ extra Quicksilver bullets. Whenever I would run out of the Phantom bullets, I would ease off the gun, taking a few seconds to drain the health for extra bullets, alongside healing afterwards. This fight in particular, I was unsure if I would actually be able to get past. Vicar Amelia, as I mentioned earlier, is able to heal. If I was just using normal weaponry, this could be easily handled. With guns only, every time she heals, it means that I will have that much less ammo to take her down. Thankfully, during the whole fight, she only healed once. Otherwise, I would have needed to restart or change my strategy. In the end, we take her down. We are now one step closer to completing the game. Because we took down Vicar Amelia, we are now able to interact with the skull in the room. This gives the player the passcode to enter Forbidden Woods, and changes the world state slightly in certain areas, most notable with the Sleeping Giants in Cathedral Ward. Instead of going through Forbidden Woods straight away, I decided to venture into Hemwick Charnel Lane. There were two reasons for coming here. First was opening the area up for when I received the Cainhurst summons later when the clinic is explored. Second was that a boss fight can be found here. I made the mistake of having insight when I first entered the fight, so I quickly warped back, drained the insight levels, then headed back. If the player has insight, these shades will continually respawn, making the fight slightly more difficult. Once taken down, the player is rewarded with the Carol Rune Workshop tool, which lets them mix and mash various modifiers. I'll talk about these more when I get into the DLC, but want to mention them now. Someone was really interested in telling me about my car's extended warranty when I was in the Unseen Village. Then I said hello to Dark Beast Parl. I was really surprised by how quick this fight was, mainly how easily the repeating pistol staggered Parl out of its buff state. As we were traveling through Cathedral Ward to Forbidden Woods and onwards, I want to take a few minutes to talk about Duskbloods. Even though this isn't Bloodborne 2, I'm really excited for this upcoming release. Bloodborne and the other Souls games have such rich lore and entertaining gameplay that I'm always excited to see more being added. I'm hyped about the game, but I'm wary about whether or not I should get a Switch 2, since my last Nintendo console was a Wii. Night Rain I was hyped about, and I've played since its release. Now, after 750 plus hours on the game, it is the second most played Souls game for myself, I've come to see how cool this game could be, alongside being underwhelmed at times. I'm worried about Duskbloods, following Night Rain's model. Night Rain has so much potential to be one of the better Souls games, but unfortunately has failed in many departments. Besides the Deep of Night mode and the Everdark Sovereign bosses, there have been little additions to Night Rain. I was waiting for a Madness, Deathblight, or even a magic-infused map. Similarly to Rotted Woods, The Crater, and others having their own theme. That's not even mentioning new characters, weapons from the main Elden Ring game, and so on. I do really enjoy the game and still play it often. This is one of the reasons why I'm really excited for the new trailer for the upcoming DLC. Super excited to see what they're gonna bring. We got those 2 new characters, plenty of returning bosses like Artorias, so I'm really hyped. We'll see what they do for Duskbloods too, because I'm sure they're gonna do at least a DLC or 2 for that, but at least for Night Rain, I feel like they need to be putting out more DLCs often, just because they're different to their previous titles. I feel like Night Rain, it really requires updates at least every other month, or maybe 4 to 3 times a year. That's just my opinion. Do you think Duskbloods will fall victim to the Night Rain treatment? Will it be a fun game? Let me know in the comments below. With Amygdala and the Shadow of Yharnam defeated, press onwards towards Bergenworth Academy. Dropping into the Moonside Lake, Rom the vacuous spider greets us alongside our minions. Compared to other challenge runs on this game, I knew that guns only in this fight would make things 1,000 times easier, as the spider minions can be mostly avoided. Now the downside to that is after her third phase there will be like 50 plus mini spiders everywhere, but you know, as long as you can manage them, you'll be fine. Even though this was more straightforward than usual, I still had to play cautiously as a mess up could mean a quick death, resulting in one or more restarts. Fortunately, with the Carol runes that increase health vials, I had numerous Quicksilver bullets in reserve, so I didn't need to worry about running too low on ammo. In the end, Rom is defeated, and the night truly begins with the blood moons rising. The player is now able to access the previously closed off sections of the Unseen Village. By this point in the game, we now have access to higher weapon upgrade materials, will be plentiful as we progress. Besides the upgrade materials, another item was sought after, which is the Upper Cathedral Key. Using the key will open up the areas above Vicar Amelia's room, alongside being able to fight 2 bosses. Celestial Emissary was first. This fight is usually a joke, but more so when the player is able to use just guns only. Why, you may ask? Well, in its second phase, the main Celestial Emissary triples in size. This ultimately makes it a much easier target. Afterwards, I went through the glass panel behind the emissary, reach a secret area where Abridus, Daughter of the Cosmos, can be found. Of the bosses we have faced thus far, Abridus gave me the most trouble, by a long shot. This wasn't because of guns only, rather how unfamiliar to her fight I am. Even though I've taken her down numerous times, I'm still not the best at dodging her attacks. Ultimately, I had to get good, as the kids like to say, so I had to patiently and cautiously proceed through her fight. The sound department in the Souls games has always been top notch, but I have to say I really enjoy how most of the sounds in this game sound like they could be from another world, or like, you know, some Lovecraftian thing. Embryotis' laser attack is one of those sounds that will forever be memorable in my eyes, alongside Orphan of Kossa's screams. Dear God, those are terrifying as hell, which is awesome. I upgraded the pistol's weapon level, alongside infusing a better gem that scaled nicely with a high blood tinge stat. I was fortunate to find a few of those gems during the run, but I really did not want to grind out the Chalice dungeons for them. Oh, the One Reborn. This is a gimmick boss fight, but I find it to be quite enjoyable. Similarly to Demon Souls, specifically the Tower Knight fight, take down the enemies on the upper levels first, then focus on the boss afterwards. Most bosses have some sort of range attack, but I found the One Reborns to be the toughest to deal with. I had to heal for the extra bullets when a corpse would land on my character's head. Needless to say, this was a hectic fight. Ultimately, I persevered through, defeating this boss and unlocking the next Nightmare section. The Academy acts as a gateway into the Nightmare realm. It was mostly just a quick run through from one side of the building to the other. This run, I decided to collect another Communion rune, which will let the player hold more healing vials. New consumable that I started using by this point in the run was Bone Marrow Ash, which will greatly enhance the gun's damage. While these are limited, this will really help to turn the tide in our favor. Sooner or later, I took down and defeated Mick Lash. It was really a small hindrance in the grand scheme of things. Because we defeated him, we are now able to interact with a massive eyeball enemy in the Nightmare realm who inflicts frenzy. Once it is plunged into the depths below, the player is able to get the one and only Blood Rock in your playthrough. Other than spending an insane amount of insight with the messengers, this is the easiest way to get a weapon to +10. After that was collected, I contacted the Great Ones by showing my insight into the world. Ultimately, I was granted the Moon Rune, which isn't the most useful, but is such a badass sequence to unlock. The final thing we will have to do in the Nightmare is take down a Great One atop the structure. Murgo's wet nurse protects the crying Lovecraftian baby as we enter the arena. This fight can be difficult at times since getting up close and personal with the nurse's 10 plus blades is challenging. Thankfully, since we were doing a gun only challenge, we were able to safely whittle down her health from afar. The toughest part of this fight was when she entered her second phase, sending a bunch of her clones out. I found that a good strategy was to run alongside the outer perimeter until she was debuffed. Sooner or later, we defeated Murgo's wet nurse, then used the music box to soothe the nightmarish creature. It's really cool that these little things can be found throughout all the Souls games. Let me know down below one awesome note or trick that you've picked up over the years from these games. I'm really interested to hear. Before we head into the DLC, we must enter and conquer Cainhurst Castle. To access this area, the player needs the Cainhurst summons from the clinic, already prepped and collected, alongside getting another umbilical cord. Progressing through the terrifying and unyielding corridors of the castle felt like a task in of itself. I cautiously pressed through, making sure to keep my contact with enemies to a minimum. At the top, Martyr Ligarius can be fought. Usually in this fight, I like to parry him, so I knew most of the timings, which helped a lot. One thing I guess I never realized in this fight was that he is immune to bullets in his second phase, specifically when he is not attacking. That one aspect made things slightly more troublesome. Ultimately, I was able to take him down in the first go. I spent some time with the Queen, then set off leaving Cainhurst Castle forever. I got the blood tinge stat to a solid 99 for the DLC, DLC. This way there should be no excuses for not being able to take down enemies. Instead, the challenge would be managing resources, specifically that healing combo that I mentioned earlier. It takes a few seconds, allowing for an easy hit, dodging the DLC boss's high damage, and navigating the harsh landscape. I won't spoil much now, but let's just say even with a 99 blood tinge level, things in the DLC were far from easy. Because we collected the DLC key after Vicar Amelia's defeat, spent some quality time with this one Amygdala, you're transported into the Hunter's Nightmare. Quickly made my way towards the Grand Cathedral, where Lawrence the First Vicar can be found. While we aren't able to fight him right away, we need the item to progress further through the DLC. For most of the DLC, things were extremely difficult, even with 99 blood tinge alongside a highly upgraded weapon. Because of this, I plan to talk about the DLC as a whole. Compared to the base game bosses, enemies were relentless and punished me if I made a single error. Even with a high defense, I would still get 2 to 3 shotted depending on the attack. Ludwig, for instance, took a few tries to take down. I found most often I would go for extra bullets and see Ludwig's holy blade come crashing down at my head. Even if timing was optimized, the windows were extremely short. Aakash's actions had to be undertaken constantly. This is the point where I really started to notice the difference in health between the base and DLC bosses. The DLC bosses, I had to really optimize not getting hit, since more damage meant less bullets to use. The Living Failures and Lady Maria only took a couple of tries, but I really had to dial in, making sure to not get caught off guard. Thankfully, this exploit in the Living Failures arena helped to get some decent damage in while the Cosmos rained down. Then I made my way towards Orphan Aakash. Of all the Bloodborne bosses, I figured that this guy would give me the most trouble in the run. Let's just say I was right. I fought this guy at least 5+ times trying to take him down, switching my strategy up slightly each time. Fighting Orphan Aakash is usually a challenging endeavor to go through, and this time around I had to fight the boss and my dwindling resources. This fight pushed my skills and consumable management to its peak. Even at the end of the attempt that I took him down, I was really close to restarting since I had such low left in supply. I switched my Carol runes a bit, deciding to add some extra Quicksilver bullets in the base spell. This hindered my healing only by 2 vials, which isn't all that bad. Last but not least is Lawrence the First Vicar. Strangely, there have been times where this boss has given me more trouble than Orphan Aakash. This playthrough, they were about the same, as it took a similar amount of attempts to defeat them. Even though we do have the benefit of a ranged option, things were anything but easy. I really had to get good in this fight, playing patiently, memorizing his attack patterns, noting the best times to strike. Ultimately, we defeat Lawrence, completing the DLC. With all the DLC bosses defeated, alongside most of the base game roster, we now have to defeat the last 2 bosses. I went through the game, I collected and consumed 3 umbilical cords, which will allow us to resist the influence of a Great One. This will be shown in the cutscene after the first boss. German and Moon Presence were nice and easy fights to end the run. While I did die halfway through a Moon Presence fight, it did allow me to restock my items, going back in full throttle. In the end, the doll holds us in her hands, giving us warmth as a new Great One is born. This has been Bloodborne with guns only. While we did have to cheese the system a bit with the Chalice dungeons, this run wouldn't have been completed as quickly if not. I would have needed to grind for hours and hours, if not days, which isn't the most entertaining to watch, alongside for me playing the game. I'm thinking in future Bloodborne runs to discontinue using that exploit. I'm curious to hear your thoughts below. While the base game was a cakewalk, and the DLC was a whole other ballgame. Found often in the DLC, I would have to pull out some Doctor Strange spells to dodge their relentless attacks. Before I wrap up the video, I want to quickly discuss something. After this video, I'm going to start writing and then editing the KOTOR 2 Melee Only challenge. This will most likely take a few weeks to produce, as I really like to make the KOTOR videos with all the best edits and moments. Not that I don't usually, but I find it easier to do so on Star Wars things since I grew up with it. Either at the end of that video or in a separate video, I plan to talk about my experiences with YouTube, future of the channel, and so on. If you enjoy my videos and content, I encourage you to be on the lookout for that and voice your opinion. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps to support me and the channel, alongside pushing the video to others who may be interested. Try to do something kind for someone today, whether it's a small or large gesture. This is your boy Skilled Fawn, and I'm out.